Okay, Specialist Mathematics, Paper 2, Tech Active, Multiple Choice. We're going to do questions 1 to 5 in this video. This is the 2023 paper. So let's start question 1. The acceleration of an object moving with simple harmonic motion is modeled by A equals negative 2.95x, where x is displacement from the origin. Determine the period of the motion in seconds. So I am straight away going to my formula sheet. Simple harmonic motion. Here we go. Double derivative is my acceleration. So we know my acceleration equals negative x squared. Okay, so that's straight from the rule sheet. I'm just using that. So comparing that to what I've got here, I know, excuse me, I had the squared in the wrong part. So omega squared is going to equal the 2.95. So on my trusty calculator, I'm going to go shift square root 2.95. And I get, as you can see there, I get 295 over 10, which is 1.7175. Got enough decimal places. Now, what was I asked? I was asked for the period. Go back to my rule sheet. There's the period. T equals 2 pi over that. So 2 pi over the 1.71756. Or on my calculator, I'm going to go 2 times pi divided by shift answer. That way I'll get the exact one, won't I? And I get 3.66. So D is my answer. Okay, it was a bit of a rough start, wasn't it? I was getting through, but let's keep going. Question 2. The standard deviation of scores of 1,000 students completing an entry test at a certain university is 13. The researcher takes a repeated random sample of test results with each sample comprising 40 scores and calculates the mean score for each sample. Determine the standard deviation sample mean scores. That rule is also on our rule sheet. Excuse me. So we'll just flip over to where our statistics are, is that our sample means standard deviation is standard deviation of square root of n. So that's going to be 13 over square root of 40. Because repeated random samples of 40 scores, don't do the 1,000. 13 over shift square root 40. Gives me as a nice thing, 2.055. My closest answer is B. Okay. They're nice ones for us to start with. 3, complex numbers question. Given that 2i is a root of x squared minus pz minus q equals 0, where p and q are real, determine the values of p and q. Now, if it's a root, that means it satisfies it. So 2i minus p times 2i, or 2i squared, minus q equals 0. 2i squared is negative 4. Take 2ip minus q equals 0. Taking the q to the other side, q equals negative 4 times 2ip. You would understand then, if p is equal to a real number, like negative 4, q would also have to be have an imaginary part to it. So we're not going to be A or B. P's got to be 0. And if P is 0, Q is going to be -4. So C is my answer there. I think that one gets tricky because some people go, that seemed a bit easy, but that's where it goes with. Question 4. Question 4 is the position of a particle can be modelled using that position vector of cos ti minus 2 sine t, j. Which curve best represents the path of the particle? We are tech active, so I can go and just graph it. Remembering this is my x, this is my y, so I can write it as parametric function or equations, whichever you want to go with, cos t, y equals -2 sine t. Okay, so they're my two. Break it down. So I'm going to go to my menu, I'm going to go to graph. Now I'm going to do parametric, which is my type. Parametric, F3. So I'm going to go x is cos t, y is -2 sine t, execute, draw. Okay, well, it looks like a circle. All right, so we know it's going to be C or D because they're ellipses, and this is really an ellipse. If you note, now to check on, oops, sorry, wrong one. Check your view window. I've got my scale just from -4 to 4 with a scale of 1, and the y is the same, -4 to 4 scale of 1. So when I go and look at my grid lines, it's only gone 1 on the x, but it's gone 2 grid lines on the y. Okay, so even though this doesn't look proportional, does it? But we look at the grid lines. So it's only gone 1 out on the x, whereas this one's 2 out on the x and 1 on the y. We actually want 1 on the x, 2 on the y. So D is my solution. If you didn't calculate it and you wanted to get like a, what's the word? Do it algebraically, you know, if you're feeling a bit not technical. This is sine t equals -y on 2. We know that cos squared t plus sine squared t equals 1. So that's x squared plus -y on 2 squared equals 1. That x squared plus y squared on 4 equals 1. Oops, excuse me. So that is the equation of an ellipse. We make that the x on 1. So that would be x squared over 1 squared, y squared over 2 squared equals 1. So that's where we know it's going to go 2 on the y and 1 on the x, if you wanted to go that way. But totally, this is tech active, you can just graph it. But I know some people like to do it that way too, and or at least know why it's that one. Question 4, and then we're going to do question 5. Sorry. Question 5, a plane contains the origin and the points 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Vector normal to the plane. So imagine this is A, this is B. I've got to go OA cross OB. It's my normal. All right, I'm going straight to my calculator. 1, 2, 3, oops, cross 3, 2, 1. That's what I want to do. Go back to my Run Mat menu. If I go Options, MatVec, and I go across, and it's cross product, cross P. Once I get the cross P up, exit back and go MatVec 3, 1 to enter my vector. 1, 2, 3. Then I've got to put a comma in between, and I'm going to go 3, 1 again. 3, 2, 1. close my brackets, execute, -4, 8, -4. What happened there? That's not a solution. Did I enter that incorrectly? All right. That would be also the same as A, because we can go that this, like if this was ON, then NO would be 4, -8, 4. Same vector, still perpendicular, but it's in the opposite direction, isn't it? That was a little tricky. I wasn't expecting them to do that. Okay, so even though one of our option that we came up with wasn't there, the negative of it was. And so if it's perpendicular, it's just perpendicular in the opposite direction. That was a little tricky. Anyway, they're the first 5 questions.